Weekly status. A summary of the most important geopolitical, war and military events that took place in the last week. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps initiated live-fire exercises in the strategic Strait of Hormuz, the parts of which Tehran has closed for the duration of the naval drills. Ukrainian drone strikes hit the Ilsky oil refinery located in Krasnodar Krai, southern Russia, causing a significant fire at the facility. It was a big diplomatic day in Geneva as American and Iranian delegations met for another round of talks on Iran's nuclear program. Following the negotiations, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi noted that Washington and Tehran were able to reach a general agreement on some guiding principles, although that didn't mean that a deal was imminent. A US official said that a progress was made during the talks and added that Iranians were set to come back in the next 2 weeks with detailed proposals to address some of the open gaps in the positions of the two parties. In addition to the Iran-US meeting, another round of talks on the settlement of Russia-Ukraine war also took place in Geneva. The negotiations lasted for 2 days and didn't produce any breakthrough. The negotiations between Iranians and Americans coincide with the intensification of a US military buildup in the Middle East that included the redeployment of over 50 fighter jets to the region. Israeli rescue agencies and the Home Front Command were instructed to prepare for war, according to Israeli media. Such dramatic steps were related to assessments by Israeli authorities that US attack on Iran and Israeli involvement in it were imminent. Ukrainian strikes hit a fuel depot located in the Russian town of Veliki Luki in Pskov Oblast, causing a significant fire at the facility. The object was covered with netting for protection against drone attacks, although that didn't help much. American national security officials met in the White House Situation Room to discuss the situation around Iran. US President Trump was also briefed by Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner on the results of talks with Iranians in Geneva. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk called on all Poles to leave Iran immediately and avoid travel to this country. US President Trump said he believed 10 to 50 days was enough time for Iran to reach a deal with the United States. Trump also warned of unspecified bad things that would happen if Tehran didn't make a meaningful agreement with Washington. A second batch of 6 US Air Force F-22 fighter jets arrived at the Rough Lake and Heath Air Base in the UK, joining another 6 F-22s deployed there. The force of 12 Raptors was set to be later deployed to the Middle East region. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that the draft nuclear agreement plan was set to be ready in the next 2 or 3 days, with negotiations with the United States expected to continue next week. US President Trump told reporters he was considering a limited initial military strike on Iran to force them into making a deal. USS Gerald R. Ford, Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, and its carrier strike group crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and sailed eastward into the Mediterranean Sea, as it was poised to join other US military assets deployed around Iran, including the 2nd Carrier Strike Group, centered around USS Abraham Lincoln Nimitz-class aircraft carrier. Ukrainian forces carried out strikes on the Votkinsk machine-building plant, located in Russia's Republic of Udmurtia, approximately 1,300 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. The facility is a main production enterprise for various types of Russian ballistic missiles, including Iskander-M and Bulava. The strikes were carried out with Ukrainian domestic-produced Flamingo long-range cruise missiles. An explosive device went off in the city of Lviv in western Ukraine, causing the death of one police officer and injury of at least 25 other people. Ukrainian officials described the incident as a terror attack, adding that a perpetrator was a 33-year-old woman who received instructions from Russian special services. The heavily armed CO.AG cartel carried out widespread attacks across Mexico after their leader, Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, commonly known as El Mencho, was eliminated in an operation conducted by Mexican government forces. The cartels targeted the Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta airports. As well as other objects across the country, setting up roadblocks and ambushes on Mexican security forces. US State Department has urged Americans in several Mexican states to shelter in place as violence erupted across the country. It was also reported that a new US military-led task force specializing in intelligence collection on cartels took part in the raid on El Mencho. And here's a bonus of the week. Ukrainian FPV drone strikes an unexploded Russian FAB-500 aerial bomb lying next to the dugout of Russian soldiers, causing a big explosion. We've now reached the point where an American attack on Iran can happen at any moment. If you're interested in a more detailed assessment of a US military buildup in the Middle East region and Europe, I've made such a video a few days ago. As always, the list of sources is in the description. Thank you for watching, bye for now.